Hello and welcome to Sterling Armory's episode 47. I am coming to you from the future. Actually, so we recorded episode 47 a couple months ago, and the episode was about entering into the sword world and how to find newer swords and beginner sword level type things. So we recorded the episode making a lot of recommendations, and what we did not know is that sadly, Hanwei and Paul Chen's company has closed doors. We're sad to hear that. We'll probably do a whole video on that because they're a big influence. I met Paul Chen personally a couple times. First time at SHOT Show, probably 2010-ish. Also, first time I met Tinker Pierce. So we'll probably do a whole video on that. But yeah, so a lot of the recommendations that we provide for beginners or folks looking to get into the sword world in this video here coming up, you may not be able to find them. So if you can find them, grab them as quick as you can, because we don't know the future. A lot of the Khas Hanwei employees who are in China who left to do their own work are probably picking up some of that product line. But who knows what's going to go and what isn't. So we know not everything's going to get made again. So if you see a piece that you really like, make sure you grab it. So I'll stop rambling. So enjoy Sword Talk, episode 47, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another episode of Sterling Armory's Sword Talk. I am Chris, and I don't remember what the number. It's probably like 46, 47. I can't remember. One of those episode numbers. But thanks for joining us tonight. If you're new to the channel, Sword Talk is everything we do sword related. We are sword makers, and so there's a lot of great sword YouTube folks online, and we like to kind of bring a different angle as makers to the conversation. So let me bring on our fellow makers. Hey guys.
Hello.
I said my name, but I forgot the full introduction. So my name is Chris, sword maker at Sterling Armory. I didn't just get shot. That was something else. And normal job is aerospace engineer. And Colton?
I am Colton, Copperthorn Customs and sword maker for Sterling Armory. Oh, add that in there. I think that's about it, right?
Perfect.
I make swords.
Warbear?
Good. I'm Joshua Von Warbear, and I make swords.
No, I make swords.
No, I make swords.
You can find me on Instagram at Warbear_Armory. On Facebook, you can find me at Joshua Von Warbear. Props, concept art. I've been drawing a lot recently. So fucking much. Shit. I mean,
We're only a minute in, man.
I forgot, man.
We're at 2 minutes and 15. It's fine.
Yeah, we're not famous. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we got tons of people watching us, so
Yeah.
I forgot to say though, yes, so you can find us all Sterling Armory on Facebook. I was gonna say sterlingarmory.com, but we are there, but it's, I don't know. So if you do website work and you want to help us, send us a message. Find us on Facebook or Instagram, or obviously if you're here, you found us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Side note on what number of episode Sword Talk this is. I don't know that, but we are at 99 videos right now on YouTube, so this will be number 100 video.
Oh, really?
What?
Yay!
We did it, guys.
That requires a celebration.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we always enjoy a nice drink while we're doing our sword talk. So for me tonight, I'm finishing off my this is my favorite peanut butter whiskey, by the way, if you guys haven't had that.
Oh yeah.
So, Old Smoky's peanut butter is, I used to like the screwball stuff, but that's a lot better. So, and I got my little last day of the Halloween mugs.
Nice.
Very nice. I've got a screwdriver.
Yay! That's pretty good.
Yep.
I am celebrating my 100 with a tasty, crisp, cold Red Bull. It gives you wings. Red Bull, please sponsor me, send me all these for free, and then cover my medical bills in case it breaks my heart. Literally.
We'll make
Here
a
we
sword
go.
for you guys with wings.
Oh, the twang. You never. Oh,
Wang.
We should do the flutog, but just make a giant sword that we all run down the ramp with.
hell yeah.
Okay.
I'd be all right with that.
Might as well.
It's the only
right.
way you'll find all of our bodies in the same area at the same time when it crashes.
Well, it happens. So we are 4 minutes in, but our topic of the day. So every Sword Talk episode, we try to cover a different topic, and if you got any suggestions for topics, we take those in. And we were inundated with a letter.
Inundated is a strong word and a proper fitting one for exactly what we were on this. We received exactly one letter.
So we have 3 questions. Well, 3? No, 2. I don't know. 3, 5. So first question is, from a maker's point of view, what did we recommend for more entry level type swords? And so we're going to kind of walk through that. And then on top of that, we had another question of, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the question was, if I want to buy, my significant other is very much into swords, how do I get them something without them knowing? Like, how do I pick it?
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult question. So we'll probably try to dive into that a little bit. I think that was the only 2, right? Or am I missing one?
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Okay.
I mean, that's
While you're
what
looking it up,
is in my memory.
So
trying to find where that inundated letter came from.
So you might think, hey, you guys are makers. Why would you talk about other makers or other products? I think we're all sword enthusiasts first.
Right.
We all love swords and all types of swords, and we grew up trying to figure out, okay, what's the best one to get as well. So we're bringing kind of a maker's perspective on what our views are on other blades. And
bulletin: how to buy your first sword, what to look for, how not to be tricked, like for us dummies, not pros like you nerds, or how to buy your hubby a sword for Christmas, because us ladies do all the shopping. Thank you. That came from Battle Badger in Michigan.
Not Battle Beaver.
Not Battle Beaver. Completely. I think it's more of a German thing.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Bullet Badger. Bullet Badger, not Battle Badger.
Oh, Bullet Badger. She poked a badger with a spoon. So yeah, that's a lot of but we can kind of go through all of that, I think, around the same time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually pull up, we're going to go to Cult of Athena, mainly because all of the very beginner blades are kind of all in one place there.
Like a hub.
Yeah, it's a good hub to kind of use to go through. So we're going to pull that up, go through some, like how I would search for like a beginner sword. And I've done this a lot with a lot of folks needing help. And then we'll kind of step up from there. So beginner ones, and then if you want to go a little bit further, and then if you want to go a little bit further, we'll just keep stepping up to the different ranks and kind of walk through what our opinions are. So trying to remember what I just did. How did I share this? Here we go. Oh, StreamYards, by the way, since the last time we've done a sword talk, is completely different. We can actually have intro videos now. That's a new thing. I don't know how to do it, but we can have an intro and outro video. And
we got to make an intro and an
yeah,
outro.
Right?
Absolutely.
So
something
you know
that's a 90x win, but not as good because you can't. It's hard to touch that quality.
Yeah.
All right.
That's true. All right.
Right.
So on to it worked. Let me move my sword talk out of the way. There we go.
Cool.
Is that big enough? Is that like way too small?
That looks good to me.
Okay. So first thing I would do, so I'm already in, I guess let me go to the homepage here. So within Cult of Athena, you can go, when you go up the swords here, European, Asian, all that, yada, yada, yada. We're going to stick with European swords, I think, for the most part. But if you guys want us to walk through other, like Chinese blades or Japanese blades, I'm not as I'm good with Chinese blades. I am not well versed in Japanese blades. So, but if you want us to go through those, we can try. But European blades, we are good at. So, they classify like medieval, Dark Ages, Renaissance. Most of the things I think for beginners, especially if you're doing a lot of HEMA stuff, or if you're doing cutting, or if you're doing stage combat, or depending on what your use case is, most of them will probably be in the medieval sword category. We can look at some Viking blades and some later on rapiers, but today we're just going to really focus on the medieval blades. So here's how I particularly do it. I'm curious what you guys do. I think you guys probably do it somewhat similar. But just from my experience in the years being in the sword world, I have the makers that I really like. So I'll go through and I'll actually... So right now, does it tell you? Yeah, there's 482 swords in there. So that is a lot of blades to choose from, right? So how the heck do you start if you don't know what you're doing? So here, just from my perspective, for beginner's blade, there's some really, really good ones from a few companies. So I would say make sure you check Hanwei, because Hanwei has some really good early medieval blades. They also have some very shitty ones. so we got to definitely clear the air there on which ones are which. I would definitely select Del 10 as well, although getting Del 10s on the... So when I say lower price point or entry level, I'm thinking under 400. Does that sound right? Yeah. Finding a Del 10 for under 400, it used to be easy. Now, probably not. But I would say just check, just to make sure. So I'm going to check those guys on. Believe it or not, I will say you can look at some cold steel, although I think that's the last thing you should look at. So, same thing with the Ronin Katana guys. There's a new kind of kit on the block in terms of swords, but I don't know if you can get them in the lower price range, and that's Todd's blades. I don't know if you can get them cheap enough yet. But let's take a look at those. Valor Arms is hit or miss, so we're going to look at those as well, and we'll go through each one of these. If you are doing any sort of stage combat, if you can find a Baltimore knife and sword below $400, grab it, because you can probably resell it again for $600, if not more. And LK Chen's on there. I don't know what their current run is, though, so I'm going to check them on. Can you guys see all that? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And then I'm missing... Oh, Windless. So, Windless is just like Hanwei. They make a few decent blades, but a lot of them are shitty. So, you have to be very, very picky on that. So, those are the makers I would pick for starting entry level. Now, would you guys pick any other ones? Or, well,
that's pretty much my list. Yeah, that's pretty much my list. Kingston Arms has a hand and a half sword I quite liked. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, should I put them on there?
That's up to you. I really only liked like one or two of their swords.
Yeah, same.
Half was one of my favorite ones, both in aesthetic and build. The one I got was pretty good. Kind of regret.
Also, by the way, we're not talking about fetters here, and I just realized that Krieger Armory is on here, which is pretty awesome. So if you want a sparring fetter, go directly to Krieger Armory. So just go to them. Okay, so let's kind of narrow these down now and look at what's available in each of these. So to make it simple, I'm just going to turn everybody back off and just go one at a time. If I don't log up my computer screen here. So I'm going to start with the oldest. I'm going to see if we can find any Del 10s that are within the beginner price range. We may not be able to. So there's 12 Del 10s available. So let's see, they're all just over that price range.
No, and that one's 404.
Yeah, unless you want to save it. Yeah, see, all these used to be down in the 300s, and now they're just higher. So if you can go a little bit higher, like say your budget's under 5, then all of these are great options. I personally have this guy. He's I don't think you can see it. You can't see it, but he's sitting in my cabinet in the back. He was also the very first real blade I ever owned. Or wait, no, real European blade, I should say, I ever owned.
Right.
And then I also have. Oh, they got it. That is by far the nicest two-hander for the price, by the way. I have one of these guys, and I have that guy. They're all sitting in my cabinet right back there. So Delton has been in the game longer than anybody on here, and still making quality stuff if you can get it. So yeah,
so they may fall a little more into our medium.
Medium, yeah. So I might go back to that in a little bit. Okay, so let's go start with winless. I still have LK channel. Okay. So winless. So a lot of these are crap. So I'll say usually if it's below they have some below 300. I wouldn't even look at them. If you're gonna go, I mean, it really depends blade to blade. So downside to winless and the downside to everything in the lower tier category, I would say aside from Hanway, the quality, what really hurts you is quality is all over the place. So like this King Henry V sword, you might grab one that's beautiful, and then the next one is just entirely shitty. So it's really hit or miss. But there are some that are pretty much constantly good. I will say there are Albedo. I always say that wrong. This guy, he is always, everybody I know who has one of those has always liked it. It's always been really good. The Signature Series Sword of Roven, somebody just did a review on that. It might have been Alien Tude, Kyle. Same thing. Everybody who's had one says it's a great good piece for the price. These are all below 400.
I don't know, Chris. They all say battle ready.
I know. So okay. So for new people, for beginner sword, don't pay attention to that. That doesn't mean what you think it means. So yeah, these start getting a little bit more pricey. So all of their Royal Armory's line is actually really decent. However, they are very pricey, so they're more in the mid, almost high tier for production pieces. This Royal Armory is one of those down only just under 500, so it's a good mid tier. Same with that guy. Okay, chin's over. So their Urbach sword is okay. It's usually a bit floppy for what it is, but that's another one that I've heard is pretty decent. That's a Sword of Roven again. And that might be it. Oh, I'm sorry. Their falchion is fantastic, and especially for that price. So that is probably the best deal on any falchion around. And yes, it's not the greatest falchion. However, I mean, you can't beat it for under $200. That's pretty good.
Right.
Their Castillo short sword is also a very good piece, but it's a short sword, so keep that in mind. It's more of a large dagger. Yeah, that's about it.
Chris, I see 3 options that say blemished grade, munitions grade, and standard grade. What do those mean? As a consumer that I don't know about swords that much, could you explain that?
I could. Where are you seeing that? Oh, I guess here.
Bottom, like lower. Nope. Go back up. The little tabs where you can select the standard grade, munition grade, right above select options. Nope. Other side. Back in there you go. You're on it right now. Your mouse. Nope. Go up.
Oh, I see.
Right there.
Yeah, they're all crossed off. Is there one that has it active?
No.
There might be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if there's one active first.
Nope.
Either way, when all 3 of those are available, they all 3 mean different things.
Yeah, so Colton is really great because they will tell you, hey, here's one that's blemished. We couldn't sell it for full price, but here's what's wrong with it, and here's why it's cheaper. A lot of the times, the blemished ones are... A lot of times, they're pretty much like a new blade. They might just have like something wrong with the hilt, or the scabbard might have some issues. Little things like that. But For me personally, when I'm buying a sword of this caliber, I'll probably look for those first because I know that I'm going to abuse the sword anyway. So if I know it's going to get messed up, might as well not buy one that's pristine. The munitions grade, that's where they're a little over the place with that, depending on what maker they're talking about. From a windlass perspective, I don't quite know what that means. I will say it's a lower tier than blemished. So munitions grade might mean the blade might be bent. I don't know. But they'll tell you. They'll usually give you a good description. So read the description. If you have a problem understanding the description and you don't quite know why it's, either a blemished or a munitions grade, give them a call and they'll or send them an email and they'll tell you exactly what's wrong with it. And you can decide from there. But yeah, so windlass is good. My beef with windlass is what they've really. I don't really have a beef with them. What I don't like about windlass is they usually do all of their blades out of the same base stock thickness of 3/16, and they're usually 3/16 through the entire blade, which means that's not very historical. However, for the price that you're paying for it, it's not so bad. Especially for $100 caution, right? I mean, that's not bad. You'll know the swords that are a bit like the Royal Armory's line doesn't do that. They actually make the swords very, historical distal tapers, which is why they're a lot more expensive. So that's why you'll see a windlass blade for double or triple the price. That's why. Okay, so that's windlass. And do you guys have any other blades on that list?
So
nope.
It's looking like you have LK Chen also selected.
Yeah, I do. I have it on accident. Yeah, he's way down here. There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also. I think he's in the mid tier. Right?
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I saw it, but
yeah.
There's only one of them, so you might as well talk about him now.
Oh, I just turned it off.
Oh, you're fine. Continue.
Yeah. Let me pull him back up real quick. So, OK Chen is a very new to the industry company, and is so far been doing quite well. Recently, they have had a little bit of quality issues, but nothing that's been terrible. And they're really good about, if you have a quality issue, send it back, they'll fix it. So yeah, it's right on the line. So I think you can find this cheaper elsewhere. I think I could be wrong, but that's kind of right on the border, right at 400-ish. So that is a great blade. It's a later style blade. That's based on one of the Royal Armories, or not Royal Armories, sorry, based on one of the Met. And yeah, it's a nice piece. So Matt Easton, I think Matt Easton did a review on that one for LK Chen. In fact, he might have worked with LK Chen on making that one. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're making some great pieces. That's the other thing I was going to say. So a lot of the guys from India are typically using 1050 or 1060 steel. Sometimes they'll use 1075. And their heat treatment is usually okay. They tend to be on the softer side, so they're more around Rockwell 48, 50-ish. And that's not bad. Deltins are around 50-ish. With a slightly different steel, they use 6150. So your overall, I mean, the Deltin just does a better blade, more historical geometry than windlass does, because they're a bit thicker at the base. And but yeah, so windlass blades aren't terrible, especially for the price. I guess that's really the gist of it. So let's jump to the next one, which is Hanwei. So
Hanwei, we meet again.
Hanwei's still a very weird one to me because they make some really, really good stuff for the price, and then they make some really, really shitty stuff. And I'm like, why? So let's go through these. If you see anything with a tinker on it, it's probably going to be good. However, I do know the quality on them is not as controlled as it used to be. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not as controlled. So you're like when you if you were to order any one of these and look at the published weight versus what the weight of your blade is, it's probably going to be off a bit more than they used to be. But they're still all great pieces. I actually just recently got one of the single hand sharp ones here to clear out some of the buckthorn in my forest here. So, and I remembered why I hate their grips, because they're too small for me. So, but going through these, yeah, all the Hanwei tinkers are great. So if you want a blunt blade, they have blunt ones. If you want a sharp, you can get a sharp. Their practical Norman sword is quite good as well. I actually thought that was in the Tinker line for a while, but it's not. It's a separate. It's not a Tinker design. Now Tinker did do a Norman design. I'm not sure what happened to it, so I haven't seen it in quite a while. I would say bang for the buck, the best single-handed, least expensive sword is that one right there. So if you're looking for a single-handed arming sword that's sharp and you're just getting into the market, I would ignore everything else and go right to that. That's what I would do. However, I would say when you get that, I would rewrap the grip or at least wrap something else around it to thicken that grip up, because to me it's way too small. But that's just me, and it's personal preference. And then we go to this next guy, this River Witham sword. So this sword was designed in, I think, 1978. And it's terrible. I don't ever... Yeah, take this sword. If you buy it, immediately throw it across the street. It's terrible. Yeah, not good. Okay, Tinker, good. Their practical bastard sword, fantastic. Tinker great sword. I'm not sure. This is one. I still don't know why he called this one a great sword. I still call that a long sword. So it's not that big of a blade. It's a 36-inch blade. That's it. It is. The newer ones have been heavier than their published stats, but I still think it's a really great piece for the money.
So this one-way hand and a half has the blemished and standard grade available, if you wanted to look at that real quick.
Which one?
This one you're on. The hand and a half. It has the blemished and the standard grade.
Yeah, so this is one of those ones, again, designed in probably 1922, and absolute shit. So, I have no idea where they came up with this design. It's terrible. It's nothing like an original piece. And I don't know how people are buying this when you can buy a Tinker for the same price. That's an actual nice sword. Right. So, yeah. Sweet Pea's sword. So, sorry, Sweet Pea. It's a terrible sword. Yeah, I would avoid that at all costs. But let's see what Blemish says, since we're on it.
Yeah.
When you click on Blemish, description...
It's featured in the movie Sucker Punch.
Oh, is that why?
Used by Sweet Pea.
That's why it's Sweet Pea sword. Well, sorry, Sweet Pea. It's a shit sword. It's actually not telling me. Oh, there we go. Nope. So they used to tell you when you clicked on that why it was blemished. Am I missing it?
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either.
The website has changed a little bit.
Is there a bigger
when
description?
You click on...
What was that?
Nothing. I don't know.
See if there's like a longer description, or is there a place in the specs that says?
No, it's a little bit different than I'm used to. I'm not seeing description. Can I? Used to be right there. Used to be right in there. So standard grade. I don't know. So I might have lied when I said they described. They used to.
What's the price difference? I wasn't looking. So blemish is
260 versus 279.
So like $20.
$20.
$20 seems like a blade blemish, like a scratch, or
or the scabbard shape might be.
Munitions grade is generally like a warpage of the blade or something like that. It's very, very obvious.
Either way, with this particular sword, just run away.
Yeah, run away.
I mean, unless you want a sword to, really just baseball bat things with, I still would buy the Tinker blade. So. So again, training blunt. The longsword training blunts are great. In fact, so the longsword. So Warbear uses a lot of the longsword training blunts, but also the sharps.
Yep. As well as the hand and a halves and the early medieval line. Those have been bar none my favorite replacement blades to work with to build hilts for, just because they're generally dependable as far as quality. I knock on like everything that exists, but I've probably put 50 to 100 plus of those hilts on those blades and passed them out, and I've never had anyone come back with any problems.
Yeah, so and in the stage combat community, we used to do like when folks needed something quick and not too expensive, I would either point them to one of those, or point them to The downside to the trainer blades for stage combat is the tip is a little too flat because it's clearly blunt. So for stage combat, they like to round that a little bit so it doesn't look so fake. So we either grab a blunt or we grab a sharp and then just unsharpen it. And they use both of those for stage combat, and they've held up for years and years and never had issues. Now, a long time ago, we're talking like 10 years ago when the Tinkerline, well, I don't know, it was 10 years ago. Whenever the Tinkerline started, they did have a couple batches that were bad and they were breaking at the tangs. And Tinker threw a fit and said, what are you guys doing? You're not, something's wrong. And they weren't doing the radiuses proper on their tanks. And Tinker had them fix it. And as far as I'm aware, they've never had that issue since. So we've all had great experiences with them. They're 5160. They're hardened to usually 5052, usually on the higher side, around 52. So they're pretty good. I would say out of the batch, if I had to pick a Tinker blade, it'd be the Armory sword. I think that's my favorite one. If I were to pick a long sword, it'd actually be this guy. So it's just called the Hunway Hand and a Half, but it's the one that has that giant lion pommel. So this sword has gone through many, many iterations. And this will probably be the first sword that I do whenever we do our sword reviews. So whenever that's going to happen, that'll probably be the first sword I do. So if I were to pick any long sword for a beginner long sword, again, I would ignore everything else and just get that. That's my personal thing. I would grab that over the Cold Steels. I would grab it over the Tinkers even. So that particular blade, I think when Tinker came in and made his line, I think they took all the lessons learned from that and then put it back into the new version of this blade because it's really nice for its price. So $300 and you're getting a blade that's really high quality. The geometry on it is just very robust. You can cut all day with it. You can mess up cuts all day with it.
Very comfortable handle. Yeah.
So some people don't like that lion hilt or the lion pommel because it's huge. I understand that. But I like that because I actually use that to align my blade quite often. So I like it personally. There's one around here somewhere. Again, I trimmed many trees with one of those. So one of our mutual friends, one of Josh Warbear's and I's mutual friends, Kevin Daniels, we got him one of the blunt versions that was out a long time ago. This is probably more than 10 years ago. And he did stage combat with that blade for years and years, and he fights hard and never had an issue with it. And the only reason why he doesn't have it is because he lent it out to somebody who never brought it back. So it got lost. So we bought him another one, and I'm pretty sure he still has that today.
Am I misremembering? The blunt version of that one has a triple fuller, I believe.
There's two different ones. So his original one just has a single fuller.
Gotcha.
The newer blunt one has triple fullers.
Yeah, I had the triple fuller one growing up. I say growing up, I was like late 20s probably. You know what I mean?
The other great
I was
thing
an adult that could buy himself swords. That's my growing up phase.
The other great thing I like about this particular one, even over the Tinker line, and some people, I know a lot of people disagree with me here, but this is a traditional construction. So the tang goes through and it's peened. So when that guard comes loose after a lot of use, which it will, you can't torque it down like you can the Tinker line with the nut, but you can just flip it over, put it in a vise, and repeen it, and it tightens everything back up. So yeah, I just really like that piece especially for $300.
Yep.
Okay, enough of that one. So the Rhinelander, also a great piece. Henry V sword. Stay away. The Hunway Mercenary. The Mercenary is kind of a weird one. It's not a bad blade, but it's not a great blade. But it's more like their attempt at a later 16th century blade. It's just really weird. Nothing really works with it, but when you pick it up, it's like, huh, not so bad. Again, especially for the price. That one we already went through. It's pretty good. The William Marshall blade. I would say avoid the Damascus one. Even though it's expensive, it's not worth it. Just get the normal one. Here's the sharp. Oh, okay. So here's the Tinker Norman sword. So it is still around. I thought that disappeared. Also a great blade. I like the single-hand medieval one better, though. St. Maurice is really good, although heavy. Lionheart sword, again, so you can tell, right, how these swords, they just have a different look to them. Like, it was their design from the mid-'80s, and they just left it in there. And I guess they still sell, so they're still there, but I don't get it. War swords look okay. So the Tinker Pierce Bastard Sword, this is also another good one, a little bit shorter than their long sword. Great option.
Thinner at the shoulders too.
Yeah.
I prefer their long swords just because of that. Like I love the dimensions of the early menu. I love the dimensions of the Bastard Sword. If it had the width at the base of the long sword, it would be my favorite sword.
Yeah, because it's only 1.5 inches wide, right?
Yeah, it's
1.5 inches by what, 33? Pretty short.
I think so.
So I'll say this: I know a lot of guys in the Chinese arts who bought these blades. This is before affordable gens were easy to get, and they would buy these blades, strip the handle off, put a single-handed Jian handle on it, and it was great because they're not heavy at all. These things are super light.
Yeah,
and that worked really well for a single-handed Chinese blade.
They also come in diamond ground and fullered.
Yeah, which is cool.
I prefer
the blunt one is only fullered though, right?
I believe so. Yes, I believe so.
There's one of the triple fullered ones. Actually, there's both. Yes. Those are the blunt ones. So we got a lot of great options there with Hanwei for the entry level position. So yeah, that's Hanwei. That would be my go-to. So if you wanted my recommendation. Next would be, so let's look at some Cold Steel. A lot of people like Cold Steel just because Cold Steel's reputation, and they do make some decent blades. I'm actually curious if they're out of the price range now. So, hand and a half sword. This sword has been used to win cutting tournaments. Many people have used that. Again, Hanwei, so the maker of their blades, I believe, is still Huano from China. And they can make a decent blade, but here's why I don't like them compared to like the Hanweis we were just looking at, like the Tinker line or the Hanwei hand and a half. So the Cold Steel blades, you can tell that they are Chinese blade geometries that they stretched and grew to make into a European longsword. So they don't really have the right geometries for European blades. They're way too thick. They're way too stout for what they're supposed to be. So that's the main reason why I don't like them. However, if you need a robust sword that you can beat the heck, then they're great. So for, between this and the Hanwei, the Hanwei hand and a half, I would always grab the Hanwei hand and a half personally. Some people like the hilt on this better though. They think it's more comfortable. You've swung one of these, right, Josh?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're like a mainstay at every cutting tournament or every cutting party. Every cutting party anyone ever holds, there's always one of those floating around.
Yeah. I mean, for the price, it's not bad. I just think there are better options. Their Grossmesser, again, not bad for the price, but man, this thing is a beast. So it is extremely heavy, but fun. So that's the same, but you can get a black version. So if you wanted a blacked out sword, you can get one. Their competition cutter, I've been waiting to hear about this. It's a really great price. Right? It's a really great price. It's a tiny sword, though. It's a hand and a half, but the blade length is only 30 inches. I haven't heard anybody who's used one yet, though. Do you guys know anyone who's used one?
Sure do not.
I'm hoping somebody does, because it sounds like it would be a decent cutter, but you just have to be so close to the mat because your blade's so short. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. I hope it's good for him. But right now, I can't really say anything on it because I don't know. So yeah, I guess that's about it. The rest of these, they're all okay.
Italian longsword. Yeah.
Yeah, the Italian longsword. I think this is better than the other version. But yeah, it depends on what your use case was. Again, for the price, I would still go with the Hanwei. So Cold Steel, Huano's forge uses 1060 steel, and they tend to be. I I want to say case hardened, but that's not really the right term. So when you pop or break one of these blades, which hopefully you don't, but if you did, the surface of the blades are usually very hard because of the way they polish them and the way they heat treat them. But the inside of the blade seems to be a bit softer, which means they're not doing a good full through hardened heat treat. They say they are, and they kind of are, but you can tell in the grain structure, at least every one that I've ever seen, that it's a little soft on the inside. So if you ever cut with one of these and you actually do a really good cut and the sword bends, like the inside's soft, right? Although your edge might be nice and hard. So I have noticed that, not consistently, but I have noticed that. And that's mainly if Wano is still making their blades, it's a problem with Wano, not a Cold Steel problem. But again, I don't know if Wano is still making their blades. I think they are, but I'm not sure. So yeah. Okay, Cold Steel. Did I check Ronin before, by the way?
Yes. I don't believe. Oh, yes.
So Ronin
the very first, when you selected all of them to show off, you did.
But we haven't looked at them yet. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So these are another one of they're European blades, but not really. So Ronin Katana makes very robust swords. They make great Chinese blades and great Japanese blades. They wanted to enter the European market, and they didn't do enough research, I think, before they did. So these look like European swords two-dimensionally from the image, but when you pick them up, you're like, this definitely is not a European blade. This is more of a expanded Chinese blade to look like a European blade. However, that being said, they are not bad for the price, and they do have some different looks to them. The one I'll definitely point out, if it's here, yep, here it is their, what do they call this? I don't know what they call it, but it's their giant wide 18C war sword. So this is something that's pretty unique for them in this price point, especially. So it's within our price range and then a little bit over, but I don't think I've ever actually bought one for over $400. They've all been under that. Their balance point is way too far forward for what it's supposed to be, but if you want to just practice like single cuts, if you're new to cutting and you just want to practice single cuts, having that forward balance actually helps you a lot. And so that sword will be almost too good to just do single cuts with, but if you wanted to actually cut tatami and do it well, that's a sword to do it with for less than $400. I will say it's almost a little too thin as well, so it might be a cheat code a little bit. However, at the same time, their edge is not always the greatest. So you could have the best geometry in the world, but if your edge isn't greatest and you don't know how to sharpen a blade, then it's not going to work either. So, again, that's a quality control thing. But yeah, so the Ronin Katana ones. Their other one that's kind of nice is it's not a falchion. They call it a two-handed saber. It's not even a two-handed saber. Again, this is a Chinese Dao blade that they just lengthened and made bigger to make it look like a two-handed falchion and put a cross guard on. But it's not really a two-handed falchion. So it's not bad, especially for the price. Again, so all of these are swords that you can beat to death, and they're going to last a long time. That's the really positive thing about these. So like if you were to say you're beating a target, abusing it more than you should be, which a lot of people do, these will last longer than the Hanwei Tinkers or that Hanwei and a half. They just will, because they're a thicker, heavier blade. But if you want a more actual European blade, then these are not really it. I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's Ronin Katana. Kingston Arms. Do we already go through this?
No, I don't think so.
Also, tell me to speed up if we need to, because
I mean, we might need to if we've got to.
Yeah, we're at 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll probably stick to just the entry ones, and then we'll just barely dive into the big one.
I mean, it's a very large topic, honestly.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So Kingston Arms, I don't have a lot of experience with, in terms of good experience. And I will say, I don't know. They claim a lot of blades are designed by Angus Trim, and I don't know how true that is. So, Angus, if you're watching, is that true? I don't know. I can see like where they were starting from, but they're definitely not meeting his specs, right? Because they're way too heavy typically, unless he's designing heavy blades for them, which I don't think he would be. So I'm kind of curious what that relationship is. So I don't know much about those. So these are the ones that you guys have had. So 13th century arming sword, that wasn't terrible.
I quite liked it.
Yeah, this guy also, especially for the price, they're not terrible.
Not terrible.
I haven't played with their fetter. What was the longsword you guys had? Was it this one?
I had the tourney hand and a half knightly sword. It's just a blunt, but I liked it a lot aesthetic wise and build wise.
Yeah.
Fit and finish was very nice. It was definitely worth. I think it was like $230, 220. Yeah, there you go, 220.
Yeah, definitely.
I liked it a lot. Again, I kind of regret selling it. You know, it just looked really cool, and I gave it to myself as like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. And
yeah. Do you remember the construction on that? Was that peened or was it?
it was peened, yeah.
It was peened.
Peen block with a peen on it.
Yeah, that's a good option for a blunt, especially for stage. So back when we were doing a lot more stage work, these came out pretty recently, right? Only what, like 5 years ago?
I think mine I bought about 4 years ago.
Okay, so they're
Yeah,
pretty
it's
new.
been about 3-4 years.
Yeah, and they have the tourney arming sword as well. So those are all pretty good options. I guess so. For those in HEMA, I'm curious if anyone is using those, especially the tourney arming sword.
I think
Is anyone using
the
that?
hand and a half was probably maybe too thick. I want to say, like it was a little piece, like a little on the beefy side.
It's not flexible enough, right? The arming sword, however, though, I do remember that being pretty flexible. So I'm curious if anyone's using that in sword and buckler or anything. Be curious to know. Okay. So I know Todd's is outside of the line. I don't think so. Valor Arms. Valor Arms is an interesting thing. So if you have a Valor Arms that's made by LK Chen, great. If you have one that's made by a different company, not so great. So Valor Arms is basically Cult of Athena's own line that they created, or they designed, and they're having somebody else make. I thought they were all made by LK Chen now, but I don't think that's true. Let's see if it says anything. So I think we know this one's made by LK Chen, right? Well, it actually doesn't say, unless I'm just not reading it good enough. Yeah, do some research on these. Oh, here we go. Blemished ones in stock are sold at a discount. So now they tell you what a blemish means. So I'm not sure why that's not on everything.
The blemishing is cosmetic in nature and does not affect performance. It may be a good choice for those who intend to use their sword for regular cutting use. As cutting practice, we'll be introducing scratches and scuffs of the blade anyway from standard cutting use.
Yeah. So there you go. I knew they had it on there. They just didn't have it on that one for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would do some research on the Valor Arms and say if it's made by LK Chen, great. However, I will say, so I have this one, and Josh said, "Oh, this is a great blade."
I almost tried to buy it from you right away because I was like, "Wow, that feels really good."
And then
I think I cut one pumpkin with it, and it loosened up everything, and now it rattles really badly.
So that was where I was like, "Ooh!" And then I started hearing that LK Chen was having some quality control issues. So
I think I tried to buy it from you. I cut with one pumpkin and it loosened up, and then I tried to negotiate a discount.
Yeah. It's still loose today. I haven't tried to tighten it. It looks like it's easy to tighten up if you just repeen it though. But maybe not, because if there is epoxy on that tang, which there might be, then we can't do that.
Right.
However, I will say it's still a really nice blade for what it is, especially for the price. So we've had a couple guys review each of these, and they've all been really good. They're a little bit more expensive than the Hanweis, some of them. So if you can find them down in the low 300s, great. Then I might pick. I was gonna say I might pick one of these over the Tinker arming sword, but I wouldn't. I still pick the Tinker, just because the Tinker is $100 less, right? As far as long swords go, I personally would still pick the Hanwei one. But I think a lot of people would pick this 15th century one and even the 18C because of the aesthetics. They're all really good blades for the price. So yeah, that's Valor Arms / LK Chen.
Baltimore Knife and Sword.
Yeah, Baltimore Knife and Sword. We're not going to see any on here that's under that price bracket, but So Baltimore sword depends on the region you're in. If you're on the East Coast or Southeast, see, both of these are quite high right now.
Right. Oh,
you can
sure,
find them used from. I mean, we found some on Craigslist, right, for $100.
Yeah.
And you can buy them and then resell them again for double or triple the price. So yeah. So those are the entry-level swords we'd recommend. If you can step up a little bit more, again, go to the Deltins, and let's look at those Todd Cutlers. So if you can step up to like the $500 range, ooh, actually, I don't know. So I'm going to point something out here that might be a little controversial. I don't know. I was about to say I would go to these, but I thought these were a little bit lower in cost. I will say these come with a full scabbard, full belt. You can wear them immediately once you get them.
Yep.
And they've all been very good quality. These are coming from Todd Cutler in the UK. However, I don't know for sure, but I believe they're actually made in India. He hasn't said yet, and nobody seems to know where they're made from, but we definitely know he does say he outsources them. We just don't know where that outsourcing is. But they've all been really good. He quality checks each one of them, so the quality is quite there. I have a lot of their daggers, right? You guys have their daggers as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
For the price, though...
Yeah, you do.
I don't know if I would get one of these for the price. So another thing you can do, a lot of people don't realize this, you're going to hop on over to Albion and go down on their Squire line, and I'm really curious where their prices come in at. So yeah, for $500, you can get an Albion Knight, or a longsword is going up to $600, $700. But that's competing with Todd's line. I would rather grab the Albion, personally.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks don't realize these are still here. But if you want it, if you're looking for that mid-tier sword, actually high-tier sword at a mid-level price, that's it. So we come in a level above this as our blades do, because we can't make them and compete with that price. Like, we just can't do that.
Right.
If we could, we would, but maybe eventually we'll get there, but we're not doing high enough quantities to get there. So these are all great options for the price. And I would hesitate to say buy anything else, in this price range. If you want to go a step up, obviously, the rest of Albion's line is very good, but they're a big step up. So Arms and Armor also has a lot of great pieces. So they're usually around the Albion price range, but on the lower price range of Albion. Hey, and they do whiskey. So
nice.
The other thing, so here is where Arms and Armor really shines, is they by far do the best rapiers in this particular sharp sword market. So if you want a sharp rapier, that's very much like an original. Definitely go with Arms and Armor. Same with their Catswalgers as well. So their price ranges on their blades, yeah. So I mean, the Feder is actually not bad at all. So dollar for dollar, these are very close to Albion price range, but if not a little lower. Like, their Type 15A is fantastic. I know it's a different Type 15A than the kind you can get at Albion. The Albion ones are much bigger. This guy is more based on the actual museum piece. It's a bit smaller piece. It's also a bit thinner. It's a totally different type of sword. But again, the price there, it's not bad. So it all depends on preference there. But great pieces if you want to go to the step up. Now, if you want to go to a step up, but you want the whole package, so like the Todd Cutler package that had scabbards, belts, everything, then the only folks that I'm aware of doing that now are Valiant. So they do the whole package. Same price-ish range, right? Between their Valiant and the Craftsman series, there's a bunch of great blades there. But this is, again, a little bit higher tier. But it's a higher tier with everything included. Usually when you go to a high tier, like where we're at, Albion, Arms and Armor, when you buy the piece, you're buying the sword only, and you're going to have to get somebody to make a scabbard for you. Occasionally, we make scabbards for ours. Occasionally. Colton's doing a good job at that. So, but usually we don't, right? So, whereas these guys, you always get a scabbard with it, and you're roughly within that $1,000 price range, if not a little bit more.
I mean, like, they're beautiful scabbards. They're doing a really good job with those.
Zach does a killer job making those
scabbards.
Really does. He really has an eye for detail on it.
Oh, sword too, obviously.
Swords are great as well. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, like, I'll point this one out.
The rest of their team are great, as is Michael Sigmund's team over at Albion. They're great, and Nathan's team over at Arms and Armor. They're all top tier guys and well as product.
Yeah. So, like, this is one I have in the cabinet over here. The Lion, or Leon, they call it. It's Lion to me. But there's scabbard there. Yeah, for the price. I mean, this is with the scabbard is what $1,300, right? Yeah. But that's really a $2,500 sword with the scabbard that you're getting for half the price. So yeah, if that's what you're looking for, then that's that. So yeah, we kind of sped through the mid to higher tier stuff, but for the entry level stuff, hopefully we gave you a lot of information. Let me jump back to us. So yeah, any closing thoughts before we jump out? Actually, did we answer the question? Hopefully we did.
I think so. All the first swords that we showed, if you're buying something for your loved one, your significant other, what have you, if you buy any of those first swords we showed you, they're already ahead of the game. Those are great entry level ones. And then, if they really like it, or if you have the money to burn and you care about them way too much, you get them into the other three, and then they've already got the cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah. So what I would recommend, if you want, so for the question of how do I get a sword for my significant other? If you don't know, I would ask them, hey, can you show me, like, I'm starting to get a little interested in blades. Can you show me what's what? Because I don't know what I'm looking at. And they're going to show you what they want, right? So then once they show you what you want, then you can kind of pick from, okay, he pointed this one out, she pointed this one out, and then just grab, and look for one that you can afford out of what they were showing you.
Just be really sneaky and listen in on what they're saying.
Was that my conscience?
Yeah.
Hey.
But yeah, Shelby is quite good at that.
No, not.
Yeah, really. Ask them, like, hey, show me what this is, what you're looking for, or you got to word it in a way where you're obviously not looking for a gift, you're looking to learn something, right? And that seems to work quite well. So I would recommend doing that, or just stalk their search history, which may find you in a whole different issue, so maybe don't do that.
Yeah, be careful where you tread.
Yeah. You didn't hear that from me. But yeah, so hopefully that helped. So we can keep going on this topic if you guys want, but we can't go too long tonight, so we're about to drop off here.
You guys remember your first sword, both like entry level and like the worst sword you've ever bought you didn't know was terrible?
Well, I got lots of those.
Same. Yeah, same.
I have a very distinct memory of a Scottish fest down south from here when I was like 10 maybe, and I have no idea what it was. It felt just about the right size for me when I was a 10-year-old. And we definitely tried to cut down some sunflower stalks with it, and it immediately bent around the stalk.
Really? Sunflower stalk?
Yeah.
440 stainless steel.
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't stainless because it rusted, but I think it was just a mild steel.
Mild steel?
It was nothing. It was
sunflower stock.
The pommel was the nut. Like, you just screwed the pommel on. It was good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think the first sword I ever got was a 440 stainless steel reproduction of Duncan's katana from Highlander with the red scabbard, the fake ivory. Yeah, Chris loves that one. The fake ivory dragon grip and the painted gold tsuba. And I cut so many goddamn vegetation, sunflowers, everything around my yard, weeds. I would take it and pretend I was a samurai. I say pretend I was a samurai. I was probably 13 years old, maybe 12, something like that. And I had that sword for so long. That was good times, good memories.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, was this monstrosity?
Yeah, this needs a serious clean. So this is a Lung Chuan Chinese Dao that what we used in our kung fu class, and I thought these were kind of crappy when we got them, but then I realized the more I learned about swords, I was like, oh, these are actually made quite well. So they got a very good distal taper on them, and this particular one is a little too thin. But they come in a bunch of different varieties. They called combat steel, spring steel, and wushu steel. You don't want the wushu steel because those are the flashy, floppy tinfoil blades. But the combat steel and the spring steel were actually not bad. They're very much a reasonable historical equivalent. And I didn't know that when I was a kid. So I actually did chop lots of things with these, and I only broke, I think one, maybe two, doing steel to steel fighting with it. So, which I don't recommend. Don't do that. And we didn't know what we were doing, right? We were young, stupid kids. But they were really good. But then I got what Josh was talking about. I was like, oh, this stainless steel 440, I think 440, 420C. I mean, that's got to be a better blade, right? It's in Highlander. Nope. So that guy just chunked one of those in half. And I was like, didn't expect that. I thought the Chinese ones were crappier, but I was wrong. So I think those were 1050 steel. But yeah, they're actually pretty decent. So that was the first real blade I had that was, well, Chinese blade. Then the Del 10 came later. So yeah, I think I was not 10, 11 when I got those. So yeah, I
remember like one of those pop-up, like not a flea market, but you'd always pass by. It looked like a forever garage sale that was in just a shitty office building, or a little used to be a fancy two-door pawn shop, whatever. And you'd go in and he'd have like a collection of the craziest broadswords you've ever seen, with just like you're saying, with like the twist on pommel, with the brass hilt furniture and everything like that, and the shitty leather scabbard. But as a 17-year-old kid, you were just drawn to them and just like, oh my god, who's this maker? And it's just like a black stamp that says Pakistan on it. It's like, Pakistan, they probably make awesome swords. This is a good sword. Yeah. And it's only like $30 or $50. So you save up and you buy like 3 swords and 8 daggers, and he gives you a deal on all of them because he bought them for $5. Yeah, I had quite a few of those laying around and just died very quickly.
I remember calling Marteau, or no, it was the Noble Collection. Do you remember that Noble Collection catalog?
Yep.
I remember calling them. I probably was like 13 years old. I had just got done watching Highlander. Like an episode of Highlander had just come out, and I was like, I got to get it was in the catalogs. The catalog just came in the mail. We used to get those. It was similar to the size of the little Bud K catalogs, but it was Noble Collection.
Yep.
They had some beautiful blades in there. They looked amazing. Like the one from Robin Hood. The Prince of Thieves sword was in there. One of the Excaliburs was in there. A knockoff Conan blade. All sorts of crazy stuff that looked cool, I thought. But when the Connor finally came out, I had to get that. So I remember calling the Noble Collection lady like every day, like saying, "Hey, I'm just checking on my order. Is it coming? By the way, is it okay if I actually fight with this?" And they're like, "What? No." Like, don't ever. This is a sword. Yeah, they were trying to, they were telling me, like, they actually weren't going to ship it to me until they talked to my parents. They're like, you should not have this.
Screwed yourself over.
Yeah, I almost did. I eventually did get it. So they did ship it because my mom was like, Chris, shut up. You don't know what you did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she took the phone away from me. She's like, I'm sorry. My son's just really excited. But yes, it's just going to be hanging on the wall. Yeah, I still have that piece too, but I did end up breaking it because the handle on the Connor one specifically was very thin, and the plastic was very brittle, and it like rolled off the counter one time and fell on the tile and just shattered. So I picked up all the pieces and glued it together, and was very sad.
That's similar to what happened to the knives I bought. I think I used one as a throwing dagger into a tree. It was like a stiletto boot dagger made in Pakistan, and when it hit the tree, it exploded not unlike the key box around Prince Robin Hood's neck in Men in Tights, where he throws it and it shatters into stardust onto the concrete. It was like that, but the dagger. And I was like, well, shit. So depressed.
Yeah, the other one I got from Noble Collection was when they came out with their Braveheart version, which it's still around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I swung that at a solid oak tree, thinking I can get through it. Yeah, well, the blade actually was, to its credit, the blade was fine. The handle, though, the whole handle was like...
Yeah.
I was like, didn't expect that. So I flipped it around, and then I hit it the other way, and it straightened right out. And I was like, I'm never going to do that again. So that one had the pommel was a nut. The whole pommel was. So when I disassembled it, that whole handle is cast aluminum, and the leather is over the cast aluminum. I was like, why would they do that? So it's not at all what it's supposed to be. It was pretty funny.
That's wild. So, good time.
Yeah, so all the blades that we just pointed out would serve you better. However, still don't abuse them like we did when we were kids.
Right.
Yeah. So, alrighty. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. We might dive into this a little bit further if you guys want us to. And let us know if we helped for those or for that person.
That's not a Red Bull.
Yeah, we switched up. Oh, that's the good stuff.
Man, you've been holding out on us.
It's just water.
Nobody believes you. We don't believe you.
Yeah, it's just water. I kept the bottle. The bottle's cool. You know it's definitely not peanut butter and jelly crime.
No,
we know it.
Clear.
I wish. Chris left like 2 bottles of Donk's mead here, and
I did.
I keep staring at him like, I don't want to drink. You bought those, man. I don't want to. I was going to hold on to them until you got back.
I left them for you guys.
Oh, I didn't know that. You never told me.
I'll buy more when I come back.
Oh, it's gone then. I'll drink that on the next Sword Talk.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just jump out here. So again, my name's Chris. Hopefully, this was fun for you guys, and let us know your list if you have a list of intro blades that you would recommend below that we missed. Because I'm sure we missed some.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we missed whole companies actually, so I don't know everybody. But yeah, list them below, and awesome. Colton, you want to do your outro?
Yeah, Colton, Copperthorn line. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things. Sterling Armory.
Yep.
You.
I'm Warbear. You can find me on Instagram at Warbear_Armory, Facebook at Joshua Von Warbear, and TikTok at Warbear Armory. It's basically a couple videos of me hooping like a gorilla, looking at goats, making noises at them, and eating sushi. That's it.
And if you do want, again, one of the higher end, one-of-a-kind blades that we make, we do have some available right now because we're not doing Sarasota Medieval Fair this year.
Sad.
We don't have a booth set up. So we do have pieces available. They're listed on our Facebook page. If you want to, we might list some more pretty soon, especially some daggers and some other things. But if you're interested in anything that we have available, no. Well, I have some coming. So, if you are interested in any pieces that show available, let us know. All right. Well, have a good night, guys. Peace out.
Later, guys. Bye.
That's it.